Imagine waking up one morning and finding out that the richest man in the world is surviving on loans. He owns the biggest companies, controls the strongest networks, everyone trusts him. Yet behind the scenes, every single day, he borrows more money just to keep things running. That man is not a person. It is the United States of America. Today, America is over $34 trillion in debt, the largest debt any nation has ever carried. So here's the uncomfortable question. If America is so powerful, so rich, and so influential, why is it drowning in debt? Welcome to The Wealth Alchemist, where we don't chase headlines, we uncover how the system really works. When people hear $34 trillion in debt, they imagine disaster. But the truth is more complex. America is not broke. It is not collapsing today. Planes are flying, businesses are running, people are getting paid. So why does the debt keep growing? Because debt is not a mistake in the system. The debt is the system. Let's stop thinking like economists for a moment. Imagine someone who has the highest credit limit in the world, never misses a payment. Everyone trusts, banks are happy to lend to him. Why? Because he has strong income assets. Influence. America is that borrower. The problem is not borrowing once. The problem is never stopping. Numbers this big feel fake, so let's make it real. If you spent $1 every second, it would take you over 1 million years to spend $34 trillion. America didn't borrow this in 1 year. It borrowed it slowly, quietly, and continuously. The U.S. government earns money mainly from income taxes, business taxes, payroll taxes, but it spends more than it earns. That gap is called a deficit. To cover the deficit, the government borrows money by selling treasury bills, treasury notes, treasury bonds. These are promises. Lend us money today and we'll pay you back later with interest. And people around the world say yes. Borrowing doesn't feel dangerous because the dollar is used everywhere. U.S. bonds are considered safe. Investors trust the system, so every year, old debt is paid with new debt, interest is added. The number grows quietly. Before 1971, the U.S. dollar was connected to gold. This meant there were limits. You couldn't print endlessly. But in 1971, America removed the dollar from gold. From that moment, money could be created freely. Borrowing had no natural limit. Debt stopped being temporary. This wasn't evil. It was convenient, and convenience is dangerous. In the past, wars were paid through higher taxes. People felt the cost. Modern wars are different. Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, trillions were spent, mostly borrowed. The public didn't feel pain immediately, but the debt stayed. America made big promises. Retirement income, health care for the elderly, support during hard times. These promises were affordable when the population was young. Workers were many, costs were lower today. People live longer, health care is expensive. Fewer workers support more retirees. The math no longer works, so the gap becomes debt. Here's a simple rule. You can't spend more and earn less forever. But that's exactly what happened. Taxes were cut, spending stayed high, debt filled the gap. Debt doesn't knock on your door. There's no warning siren, no shutdown notice. Just slightly higher prices, slightly higher interest, slightly more borrowing until the number becomes massive. America didn't choose $34 trillion in debt. It drifted into it one decision at a time. And now the system depends on trust, confidence, continuous borrowing. So now we reach the part most people avoid. America didn't accidentally end up here. It slowly built a system that depends on borrowing. And when a system depends on borrowing, one thing matters more than money itself: trust. Let's clear the biggest myth first. America does not owe all this money to one country. No single nation controls America's future. In reality, U.S. debt is divided into 3 major groups. This sounds strange, but it's true. A large portion of U.S. debt is owned by Social Security Trust Fund, federal retirement funds, other government accounts. This is money collected from workers over decades. The government borrowed it and promised, "We'll pay it back later." So America is borrowing from its future self. This works only if future workers can support it. That's a big if. The second biggest group is Americans themselves. Banks, pension funds, insurance companies, retirement accounts. When someone buys a U.S. Treasury bond, they are lending money to the government. That's why U.S. bonds are called safe. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If the system struggles, retirements struggle. Yes, foreign countries also lend to America. Countries like Japan, China, others, they buy U.S. debt because it's stable, it's liquid. There is no safer alternative. China gets headlines, but it does not own America. The real power here is confidence, not ownership. Trust doesn't exist because America is perfect. It exists because the dollar is used in global trade. Oil is priced in dollars. Financial markets depend on stability. In simple words, the world is already inside this system. Leaving it is not easy. Debt alone is not the danger. Interest is every year. Hundreds of billions go to interest. That money builds nothing. It only keeps the system alive. As debt grows, interest grows. As interest grows, borrowing increases. This is the trap. Imagine a big company that is profitable, has strong sales, but uses loans to pay old loans, spends more than it earns. For years, nothing breaks. Then, interest rates rise, profit margins shrink, pressure increases. The business doesn't collapse suddenly. It slowly loses flexibility. That's where America is now, yes, and it does. But printing money doesn't delete debt. It moves the cost. When money is printed, prices rise, savings lose value, wages struggle to keep up. This is inflation. Inflation is how governments reduce debt, quietly avoid default, spread pain slowly. No announcements, no votes. Just everyday life getting harder, cutting spending, anxious voters, raising taxes, anxious voters, inflation. No one signs for it. No one votes on it. Yet everyone pays. That's why inflation keeps returning. This is the moment history warns us about. If investors begin to believe, America may struggle long term. Then, borrowing becomes expensive, interest rates rise, dollar weakens, inflation increases. This doesn't look like chaos on day one. It looks like expensive food, high rent, lower savings, slower growth. People feel it even if they don't understand why. Despite everything, America has advantages. Strong economy, innovation, military strength, control over global finance. That's why this system hasn't collapsed. But history shows no empire collapses while things look normal. They collapse when debt grows faster than trust, confidence quietly disappears. There is no magic fix, only painful choices. Reduce spending, increase taxes, grow the economy, use inflation. Most likely, a mix of all four: slow, unpopular, difficult. The biggest illusion is thinking this can go on forever. It can go on longer than people expect, but not forever. Debt is manageable until it isn't. America is not broke, but it is dependent. Dependent on borrowing. Trust, confidence. The day trust weakens, numbers turn into consequences. This is why the Wealth Archivist exists, to go beyond headlines, to explain systems, to help you understand power and money before you go. If this video helped you understand why America is $34 trillion in debt and how the system actually works behind the scenes, subscribe to the Wealth Archivist. This channel isn't about hyper fear. It's about understanding money, power, and the systems that shape our lives. Now I want to hear from you. Comment below. Do you think America's debt is sustainable? Or are we slowly moving toward a breaking point? And one more question: should I make the next video on what happens if the dollar loses its power? Let me know in the comments. If you believe understanding the system is the real form of wealth, you already belong here. This is the Wealth Archivist. See you in the next one.